Right now, joining us in the Pirate Radio studios, East Carolina defensive coordinator Blake Harrell is here to talk some Pirate football. Coach, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Appreciate you guys having me on.
You are welcome to have a bite of zucchini bread if you choose to do so.
Might have to.
Get some on the way out. That's good stuff. I don't know, Alex, would that help your standing on the football team if he likes it? Or could it hurt your standing if he dislikes it?
No.
Either way, it's not going to affect you. Coach, great to have you here in studio. And first of all, it's great to have you here in Greenville. Every offseason now, I start to worry, will Blake Harrell still be here? Because your defenses have played great, and teams notice that and reach out to you. So I don't know, any chatter this offseason, and how did you end up back here as the defensive coordinator?
We are proud to be Pirates and just excited to be here and excited to be Greenville. And I keep telling people it's a really good fit for my family and I. We feel really comfortable here. Our kids have friends here, and we kind of rooted here now. So to be back and be with Coach Houston again for another year and be around our players and our staff, just super excited about that and excited to get going in 2024.
I took my daughter to a postseason volleyball game, and your family was in front of me, and I see you out there at sporting events. Y'all really make the most of it and get out there. That's really cool to see.
We do. They enjoy getting out there and going to different events. They're all three playing softball right now, all three of my daughters, so they love going to softball games. Our softball team's doing really well right now. And we were at the baseball game yesterday, me and my wife, and had a good time out there.
How about that atmosphere? When I pulled in, it felt like, there was tailgating, there was cornhole, and all kinds. It felt like a football game at Clark LeClaire. It was great.
Yeah, every time I talk to somebody about East Carolina, I tell you what makes this place special is the people and that atmosphere that they had yesterday going, and the way our baseball team played. What a special place.
All right, Coach, coming off of last season and had a chance to talk to Jack Powers and Jeremy, kind of a couple of the leaders about, how do y'all kind of stay in it? Your defense is playing so well. You're playing good enough to win and just not quite getting enough points on the other side. And they're like, hey, all we do is control what we control, focus on what we can focus on. And they had the right mindset. I talked to Coach Houston about it, that, you can lose some locker rooms when things are going on like that. Yours seem to be all together, and it says a lot about the coaches, says a lot about the players as well. But how difficult was last season from that aspect, where your guys really did do their part and the wins just didn't show up?
Hats off to those older guys like Jeremy Lewis and Julius Wood and Jack Powers, who going their last time through it. I think sometimes when you go through a season like that and you're a younger guy, you're like, well, I always got the following year, I got some time down the road. But when you're an older guy, that can be really frustrating. I think they did a really good job of exactly what you said, controlling the controllables, focus on what was in front of them, not focus on the past, and just trying to find a way to win a game or make a play to help our team win a game. And that's what we always talk about in the defensive room, is it takes all of us. It takes all of us pulling in the same direction, staying together, pulling together. And if we do that, we'll give ourselves a chance to win.
Yeah, just great performances on the field last year. And when I was talking to Coach Houston, we focused so much this offseason about the offense. It's not guaranteed your defense is going to go out there and be good. You got to keep working and keep bringing in guys. So, Coach, what returners are you excited about? And then who are some of the newcomers you're excited about on this roster?
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys. And I think one thing we've been able to do defensively is play some depth guys over the last couple of years. We'll play, 19 to 22 guys. And some of that's just building depth. So when you have a guy leave the graduation or a guy move on, you've got some guys who have played. So, our front is really exciting. Chad Stevens, J.D. Lampley, Elijah Morris, Surad Ware, Deontay Johnson, CJ, all those guys up front are really excited about. Sam Danka is going to be a guy there, outside backer that was really behind Jeremy and Jack Powers. That's going to kind of be a guy. So all those guys are back. Really excited about them. Thank God Siobhan Revel's back. He makes us all a better coach every day. And then we got some guys that, as you said, as you mentioned, kind of joined our program, and I think are doing a good job of fitting in and kind of learning the system and showing that, they may be a guy we can count on. Drew Wilson-Lamp from West Virginia is a corner that is going to look like Siobhan, has that length, has that speed. Really excited about him. Day Wilson at linebacker, fired up about him. Raheem Craig is going to play our outside backer, and just he's shown some twitch and able to do some things there from an outside backer spot that I think would be really helping us.
Did you see your guys dancing at the basketball game, Coach?
I did. We actually put that on the in our meeting room. I red dotted all of them. So a green dot's like, hey, you're doing something good. A red dot, like I said, hey, you guys got to work on your dance moves.
Well, my dad and I were trying to figure out who one of the guys that did the flips was. The Lamp Kid.
That was him.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Welcome to Pirate Nation. A nice flip.
That was. I said, hey, why don't we get a few picks and you do that flip again?
There you go, man. That D line you just rattled off. Some great names, and great to have those guys back. And it all starts there. And Coach, it might have been your first year here. It might have been even the year before you came. I just remember East Carolina loaded up on D line in recruiting and almost said, look, we might miss on a couple, but we're going to hit on a few of these, and we're going to start here. And that has paid off here all these years later. That is a major strength.
It has. That was the same year I came in. I came in with all those guys in 2020, and we all got here up before the pandemic started. And, those guys, our program and our culture and what they're right in the center in front of it, and they kind of lead the way defensively for us.
You can ask a question if you want to get one in on YouTube, Facebook. Jamie says, I don't really have any questions because I know the defense is good to go. He said, hopefully the players have bought in 100% to Coach Harrell. I know that's for a fact, talking to the guys, that you have a great, I think, line of communication with the guys, Coach, from what I understand, and they trust you, and you put your trust into them.
Yeah, and I think what we got to be careful of, is, and we talked about this, I think we were 37th in the nation in total defense and scoring defense, which, a lot of places that we satisfied and complacent with that. We got to make sure we're not sitting back. I think we learned that more than anything from last season, is we got to go attack. We got to make sure we're working harder than ever, and I think that our guys are. They don't care about what we're ranked in the nation defensively. They care about wins and losses. They don't want to see 2 wins ever again. They want to go get wins and put W's on the board. So they're working their tails off to make sure that happens, and we as coaches are as well.
And one thing Coach Houston said multiple times when we talked to him last week, he wants that same aggressiveness that your guys show up with every day at practice to come from the offense and really make those practices a battle. So I can't wait to the spring and hear you and John David Baker going back and forth and the players going back and forth. But it sounds like you guys have kind of set the tone, set the tempo. Now this offense needs to match that this offseason.
Yeah, I remember when I first came in, Holt Naylor's, he made you better every day.
Right.
And I'm excited about that for our offense. I think whether you're in a position room, you're at within your job at work, if you've got competition, it forces you to be better.
Right.
If that's 2 corners going at it to see who's going to be the starter, it forces them to raise their game and be better. If we're in the real world and we're in sales and you're doing a pretty good job, it's going to force me to go out there and sell a little bit more. I think same thing offensively, defensively.
Yeah.
If if we're doing a really good job defensively, I think our offense has to raise their game and vice versa. So excited about it this spring.
That's a good point. I mean, there were days probably where Donnie and Holton and those guys were taking it to you.
There's no question.
And great to have John David Baker in. We'll miss Donnie personally, just 'cause he's such a great dude. And I know you spoke about that after the news that, they don't really come better than Donnie Kirkpatrick, the man.
He's good people, him and his wife both. And he was really good to me, and him and Misty was as well. He was good to my wife. And, we appreciate everything he did for us.
How about JDB? What have you seen from him early on? What do you like about him?
Just excited about the way he's got that offense. Those players, excited to take the field for him, and the things he's bringing to our offense. And we had a few workouts, and just the pace they go about their business. I think the defense is going to force us to have some urgency about some things we do. So I'm excited about that.
And one new member, I believe, actually a couple now, but one new member on the defensive staff is a Pirate legend, Damon Magazoo, who folks were really excited to have back, and he's done a great job as a young coach, and now comes back to take over in the defensive backfield. How about Coach Magazoo, and how you getting along with him so far?
Fired up about Coach Mag.
Yeah,
he fits in right away, just like we all knew he would. And he's a Pirate through and through, and cares so much about this place. And I think when the interview process was going on, I told him, I said, hey, we always show your highlight, with the pick at NC State. So if you'll get your players to make those same type of highlights, then I think you'll be a pretty good coach.
Yeah, no doubt. And man, he has been he was a great player here. He was one of those we use the like coach on the field terms. Even when he was here, his dad coached in the NFL, of course, so seems to be a fit. And then you had to add a coach recently, right, with the Tim Doust exit.
Yeah, so Coach Doust, can't say enough awesome things about him, and just not only the type of coach he was, but the type of man he is, and the family man and husband and dad. But it's sad to see him go. But I think anytime you lose coaches or somebody is thinks enough of your program or what that individual has done, and kind of take them, I think that's a compliment to your success here. But really fired up about Coach Zachary and just what he could be in our program. I've worked at him at Kennesaw State, and he fits that same mold as Coach Doust. So super excited to get him here. I think last time we coached together, his defensive end and his outside backer were both all conference. So I said, we expect that too. So just bring that to us. And he's got a really good room there.
Speaking of Kennesaw State, Austin on YouTube said, been an ECU fan his whole life, was raised an ECU kid, being the son of a grad, but Kennesaw State is his alma mater, and he knew of Blake Harrell before Blake Harrell came to East Carolina. So some KSU ties there.
The Owls.
Yeah. And by the way, their basketball coach, which I remember last year, I think I sent you a message like Kennesaw State going to the tournament. Well, now South Florida brought in their coach, Abdur Rahim, and they are first place in basketball.
I saw that. I didn't realize that's where he landed. But yeah, well, good for him.
I mean, they came here and whooped us in Minges. They are playing awesome. So Kennesaw State, they're D1 now, right?
So they're making in football. They just made the transition from FCS, and they'll be in Conference USA next year. So. And how the transition sometimes can go, so we'll be excited to see them, and I'm sure they're excited to go ahead and make that jump and go from there.
I've seen a lot. So, Coach, just curious, did you ever play the video game? I mean, you're a real life coach. Did you ever play college football?
Heck yeah, that was I played that way more than Madden.
Create your dynasty.
Oh, you create your dynasty. You can run on whatever offense you want and do some different things. But I was way more into that than I was Madden for sure.
Well, that's interesting. What offense did a defensive coordinator run? What was your offense on the game?
It was mostly run the football.
It was just power.
Yeah, run less plays on defense, right? But no, so Coach and we were young coaches back then. We're talking 15 years ago. And Coach Tesh always would run the triple option. It didn't matter. He'd go get Oregon's offense and run the triple option. Yeah.
Good stuff. That game is coming back. I've seen a lot of people say they're going to take Kennesaw State and take them to the promised land in college football. So looking forward to that this summer. Let's take a break. We'll come back more with Coach Harrell. If you got a question, you can get it in on Facebook, YouTube, or X. We'll be back with the defensive coordinator of the Pirates when we return after this. All right, back with you, Pirate Radio Live. Jamie says, I've heard Mike McDaniel talk about it. Madden and those games help kids who turn into players and coaches learn football schemes at an early age. And I have hypothesized, I don't think it's coincidence that all these young coaches from the video game era are coaching now, and you see more people going for it and doing things that we didn't traditionally see in football. You think there's any correlation there, Coach?
I don't know. Possibly. I do think, though, some of our guys, just that is the way they don't watch as much football as maybe we did back in the day, but they play more video football games, and that's kind of where they learn some of their terminology and football IQ, which is fine.
Coach, I always hear that coaches take things from what they've learned and then add their own wrinkles. So who are your kind of mentors and guys you really looked up to and learned from in the coaching game?
Yeah, I think you do that every year. You've kind of evaluate what you've done. Hey, how can we add some few wrinkles here and there, and how can we be better and for the following season? And some of that's just been, with our staff, the way we've been together over the years, and just coming up with new thoughts in the office, just sitting around and with Coach Houston in there and Coach Tesh in there and other guys, and just going bouncing things back and forth, and how we could adjust it to be better. Early on, Jeff Collins was a guy that coached me in high school. and just stayed in contact with him over the years. I think he's at the University of North Carolina now. But he's had some really good defense over the years when he was at Florida, places like that. Alex Grinch was kind enough to meet me at one time. A guy that GA'd for us at one time is now at Ohio State, Matt Guerrero. So you have like mentors and friends that you get on the phone and talk ball with, that, across the country, that whether they're DCs or head coaches, and just kind of, hey, how are you guys defending this? How are y'all doing this? And maybe you take something from them and make it your own, or at least it gives you a different viewpoint, different perspective as well.
I guess those friendships are easier when you're non-conference, right? Like
that's correct.
Yeah,
me and Brian Newberry, we'll talk, but very rarely do we talk football. It's mostly just, how's the family doing type thing. It's hard to talk about how we're defending each other or SMU or whoever it may be.
Well, Navy, man, you guys did a great job against that option attack, and now with Army coming into the league, from what I understand, it's a little bit different, right? But how does Navy and Army differ?
They all say they're different, so but I think there will be some aspects that are similar.
Yeah.
They're all going to run the dive, and you'll see them under center at times, and you'll see them with little slot backs in there. But I think Coach Drew Cronick, compared to what Cody Worley has done, it will be a little bit different. Drew Cronick, we actually went against him when I was at the Citadel. He was at Furman, and then Cody Worley was on that Kennesaw State staff as well. So very familiar with both those offensive coordinators.
Mike P. is a lacrosse guy. Loves bringing up lacrosse. He said ECU has a club men's lacrosse team. Do coaches scout any of those guys as walk-ons?
We never have, But I tell you what, when I was a Division II coach, we had these two linebackers. They were twins, and part of the reason we got them to come to Lenore Ryan was we had a lacrosse team, so they got to play lacrosse and football. And for the first time, being in the South, you don't grow up watching lacrosse. Right. I went out there and watched them. It was pretty physical, and I enjoyed watching them get after it.
You mentioned your playing days. What position did you play, Coach?
I was all over. I was going to say I guarded the water bucket. But defensively, like an outside backer. And offensively, I played some quarterback, started a few games there, played some running back, played some receivers, so it's just kind of bouncing around.
Coach Greg Hudson, former ECU defensive coordinator, joins us on Thursdays, and he has been a defensive coordinator, a linebackers coach. He coached the O-line back in the day and said he enjoyed that to kind of learn from a defensive perspective what the O-line's doing. So Have you coached offense at all in your career?
So my very first job, I was the JV high school offensive coordinator.
Okay.
And that back in those days, we only had 3 coaches. So, on defense, you had to coach the whole back end. Offense, you had to coach all the skill guys. So, and I got to call the plays on the offense, which is pretty, one of the reasons I got into this thing. Was
run left, run right?
Yeah, it was pretty simple back then. That was 1997, 98, I guess.
And now, man, and I'm sure some teams maybe were throwing in that. You go to a high school game now, they are chunking it around.
Oh, yeah. I think if I didn't have a quarterback, I'd probably be handing the ball off and doing some different things, but you see a lot of that.
Yeah, there was a time where I wondered if defenses would ever be able to kind of keep up with what the offenses are doing. And I don't know if we're fully there, but it feels like teams have kind of caught up to the spread, and there's always a cyclical, right? Like cycles with these things.
It all goes in circles.
Yeah.
It all goes in cycles, like what you said. It used to be you would never see anybody under center again, and now you're starting to see guys get under center. We start to see some teams huddle. And forever it was, hey, we're going to spread you out. We're going to give you, 10 personnel pitchers, go fast, tempo. And now you're starting to see teams kind of NFL-style huddle, motion shifts, trades. And I think everything has its advantages and disadvantages, but you're starting to see more of that. A popular discussion on every fifth quarter call-in show we have is, why did we not go under center on 4th and inches and things like that? So, I'm watching the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and it's 4th and 1, and Mahomes is in the shotgun, and he fakes the handoff and runs it for a first down. So even NFL teams, the best teams, are going shotgun on 4th and short. As a defensive coach, is there just too much mass in the middle? Is that why you do that? Well, what's your take on that? I think you can you have different outcomes if you feel like you can get a push in there. I think maybe the tush push is pretty good.
The Eagles are pretty good with that, yeah.
If you don't feel like you can move some, they have some guys in there who can't move, then maybe you should go to the outside. So Defensively, I think you got to prepare for all of it. And obviously, they get under center, then you're prepared for the sneak, and you got some ways to defend that. And if they're in the gun, you got to be ready for some other stuff. So it keeps you on your toes.
And you guys have been famous for those goal line stands. Of course, NC State maybe most famously, but had a ton of those a couple years ago, and good on fourth down. And that's you guys work on that, right?
The last 2 years, I think this year we're top 20 in the nation in fourth down defense, and just the short yardage plays we've made. And I think it's really a mindset to that our players develop. And so, hats off to those guys that just, hey, it's short yardage, just go time. We're going to go attack you.
Jamie says, what type of quarterback is tougher to defend, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes? I know you don't want to see either one of them.
That's two Hall of Fame guys. I don't want to see any of those type of guys. I think they hurt you in different ways. Mahomes is a guy that he can still get free, move the pocket, get away from a would-be sack in the backfield, and where Brady, I think, seen so much in the game that he's really good at just knowing when to go to the football.
Jamie says, slowly building his case that Mahomes is better than Brady. I mean, look, Mahomes is 28, and I know we just came off the greatest quarterback of all time with Brady, but I'm about ready to start that discussion with it's incredible.
If he can do what he's done, again for the next couple of years, that certainly, why not? Who
was the best quarterback before Brady? Coach Harrell.
I was a Peyton Manning fan growing up.
Yeah.
But before that era, I would John Elway, Joe Montana, Dan Marino never won one, but he was pretty good.
Kenny's asking if you're a beach or a river guy.
I think probably the beach.
All right.
Yeah.
Going with the beach there. You guys get very, very little time to get away, right? Yeah. That comes up later this calendar year, but you take advantage of when you can, I guess, right?
That's right. I'd really be a lake guy, to be honest, if I had to choose one. Up in the mountains, you're not really close to the beach, so we go to the lake in the summertime and enjoy that.
Heard Alex asking about mat drills during the break. So how about this time of year, but right before spring ball, what are you kind of working on, focusing on with the coaches and maybe the players?
Yeah, so mat drills are morning runs or coaches-led runs that we go do some station work, and really you're teaching, kind of the core of your program. You're teaching, attention to detail, mental and physical toughness. I ask our players all this time, why do we do mat drills? They'll name those things. They'll name like, Coach, I want to see who's out there that, I can count on. When it's 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, who can I be in the foxhole with? So I think we're teaching all those fundamentals of our program that we're going to fall back on next fall.
Yeah, that's good. Good bonding. You get to know, who you're in those holes with. That's awesome. And then spring ball, Coach, what are you looking forward to the most? Coach Houston said, once again, he wants that offense to bring it every day to the defense. And I know you want the same for your guys.
No doubt. And I think one of our big goals in the spring is developing our players. Not worried about our scheme. We're going to keep it very simple, but we want to develop our culture, which is we're effort-based defense who's going to play fast. Well, if we want to do that, let's keep the scheme to a minimum in the spring. Let's just go develop players and making sure we can develop them to play fast, play physical, create turnovers.
I think this way, but when Siobhan Revel's on national TV and having maybe his best game of the year and everybody's watching, I'm like, who's coming to poach this guy? I mean, you got a million things to think about, but that's kind of the reality. So how different is it today than when you first got into it, coaching with the portal and everything?
That certainly happens, and you certainly goes through your thought, but I think you got to keep focused on, in a little bit what you talked about earlier, like what's in front of you, what you can control.
Yeah.
And I think what you can control is doing things the right way, and the relationships you build with young men, and treating them the right way, and making sure they're excited to play for your program and your defense, and enjoy each other and know that they're cared about here, they're loved, and they're valued. And I think if you can do those things, that's what you can control. And if something else is beyond that, it's beyond that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's uncomfortable to have those conversations. Do those conversations come up with you and the guys, like during the season, the off season, or?
Yeah, I think more in the off season than in the season. I think in the season you're so worried about just focusing on the next opponent, doing your job. And sometimes it doesn't come up in the off season, but you certainly do have some conversations.
Yeah, you really don't have a lot of time for anything during the season, dude. I mean, it is like flip the page to the next one.
Yeah, it's you get so programmed in, like it's what's next.
Yeah. Tyler brings up Michigan goal line stand. Yeah, I mean the goal line stands, the fourth downs have been great here with this East Carolina defense, and looking forward to another year. Are you still, Coach, looking to add some wrinkles? You do that every year,
yeah,
I guess?
Yeah, you're going to do that every year. And some of it's maybe something you haven't done for a few years and you're pulling that back out, or sometimes it's something like, hey, I think this would be really good for our personnel. Obviously our personnel is going to change a little bit. You're losing Jamie Lewis, you're losing Julius Wood.
Yeah.
But, hey, what's the strength of Sam Danker or Raheem Craig or J.D. Lampley or Mike Edwards or Dontavius Nash or Jordan Huff? What's their strengths? What do they do well? So let's make sure we're fitting those guys and putting them in positions they can make plays. So, but definitely always looking to do that. And you always want to stay aggressive and play the way you play, but you got to find things that fit you and fit within that scheme and fit your players.
Finally, Coach, you saw at least a little bit of Chandler and I's athleticism on display in a basketball game, and you told Chandler you want to be a part of the 3-point contest.
Well, I really just came in here today to talk about baseball yesterday. Then I want to talk about the 3-point contest. make sure you guys are up for the challenge.
Okay. We're up for it. You said you loved playing basketball back in the day, right?
Yeah, I think I scored maybe 2 points in high school.
Okay, well,
I hit a free throw.
But
I had a lot of assists.
Okay, yeah, Stockton-esque out there.
Yeah, I was a defensive guy.
But yeah, we'll get that done. If you could get us in the ECU practice gym, that'd be great.
I don't know how much outpull I have over here.
Well, hey, we'll find a gym and a ball, and we'll have a 3-point contest. See how we do.
Let's do it.
That's because you get me running or jogging or doing anything, I'm in trouble. But I think if I can just stand and shoot, I got a shot.
Yeah, I used to get up and down the court a little bit. Now I'm with you. I'm 3-point contest up my alley.
Stationary 3-point contest will be a go. All right, well, Coach, have a great spring, and we'll talk to you out there. But appreciate you joining us today, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on.